Hello friends, welcome to the Pyramyd Insider. My name's Tyler Patner, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Umarex Iconix PCP rifle, sub $200, 22 caliber. Let's dive in. The Iconix was announced at SHOT Show 2024, and we just saw it at the end of Q3 actually come into stock. It's got a lot going for it, and I think it was kind of lost in a lot of the noise of SHOT Show. The Zelos obviously was kind of the big one everybody was excited about, but I was really interested in this Iconix because of the price point. About $15 under the $200 mark. So one of the highest featured, truly low-priced PCPs out there right now. But the question is, does it perform? And that's what we're going to find out today. As we do, let's start at the front of the gun, diving in here. You do have a 22 caliber fully rifled barrel that is shrouded, of course. Now, the gun still packs quite a bit of a bark, and despite its looks, this is not a threaded end cap. This is actually a just general end cap here that secures with a set screw underneath, so it is removable if you need to get it out to clean the barrel or something like that. But no, this is not threaded, so the noise is as is, basically. Dropping down below that, we have a 100cc air cylinder that fills to 3,000 psi, about 200 bar, and it does so by way of a fill probe. Now, one of the things that I like that Umarex has done here is they've integrated a dust cover. This is rotatable here. You just rotate that to the opening, insert your fill probe, and you can go ahead and fill it up. Hand pumping this is going to be quite easy. It's a small cylinder and only 3,000 psi. They're claiming about 25 shots per fill. Of course, we will find that out. About 28 foot-pounds of energy as well. So they're giving you that information up front, and we'll see if it lives up to those claims. One other thing I should mention, you do have a fill pressure gauge on the end of the air cylinder here. Very easy to read. You can get a good look at it sideways like this without pointing the muzzle at yourself. Moving on from there, you can see the gun is fully polymer, a lot of polymer on this guy, and the scope rail itself, will just jump right up to there, is polymer as well. And these pieces, these individual sections here across the split breech design are polymer as well, but I haven't had any issues with like zero shift or anything like that as of yet. So far so good. And look, we've seen this done on other guns before, and it works in many other cases. There's no reason it shouldn't work here on the Iconix as well. Now, moving on back ever so slightly, we do have a side lever. Love the side lever. This is one of my favorite things to see, especially on a gun in this price range. If you compare it to what else is out there in the roughly $200 price point, pretty much everything else, with the exception of maybe one other gun, is a bolt action. So this is great to see, and one of the things I think adds value to this gun over a lot of what else is out there. So very easy to operate. Simply pull it back like so, and you are ready to roll. Now, one of the interesting things about the Iconix, while I have it cocked here, is that you have a kind of oddball style safety, but it's manual. So you pull that back, and that is safe. So when you're inside the trigger guard, you can push that forward if you want, or you can operate it underneath. So right now it's safe, you can't do anything with it, and you push it forward and you're hot and ready to go. Nice thing about that, this gun decocks just like anything else out there. You hold the bolt back, pull the trigger, let it go forward, you're good to go. You can also put the gun into safe when it's not cocked. So you can do all the things to ensure that you are practicing safe shooting standards while you're out at the range or in the field. Now, talking about the trigger real quick, Umarex rates the trigger. So on the box, it says 5.5 pounds. I don't know if it's quite that. We'll see once we get it on the trigger scale, but definitely heavy and not adjustable. So not going to be the greatest trigger out there, but again, in the price points, probably fairly comparable to some of the other guns that you're going to see in this general price range. Now, the stock, nice polymer stock, feels good, doesn't look or feel very inexpensive or cheap. You do have some nice texturing here on the fore end, as well as on the grip area. You've got this kind of skeletonized section in the back, rubber butt pad at the rear. The gun comes in right around 5 pounds unscoped, so very lightweight. But if you are looking to get this for a smaller person, a young shooter, whatever, it's a 14.5-inch length of pull, give or take. So definitely a little on the long side for some of those shorter stature or younger shooters. But if it's somebody that's going to grow into it, totally okay. Or if you're an adult looking for a good hunting rig, this is probably a good affordable option for you, and under 40 inches overall. So not a bad size, obviously very lightweight, very maneuverable as well. And last but certainly not least, before we hit the range and see how the Iconix does, magazines. Gun comes with 2 of them. They are your standard 10 round 22 caliber mags here, same as you would see on the Gauntlet or Air Venturi Avenger, any of those guns, which does also mean you can use the big Avenge X magazines if you want to, if you have enough scope clearance for it. But we'll show you how to load these here in a minute. But standard mag, you guys have seen these before on the channel with other guns. And one thing just to physically show you with the fill probe here, we'll show you how it goes in. So as I mentioned before, you've got this dust cover that rotates out of the way there. You go ahead, pop that guy in. It's locked in, ready to go. You can leave it in there if you want to now, but you've got that QD machined onto the end, so you just snap your fill adapter over that, whether it's hand pump, tank, compressor, whatever, it's going to have the QD on the end, and you're good to fill that to 3,000 PSI. Very easy to do overall. Let's get this mag loaded. We'll show you that here in a second, and then we'll head out to the range. Loading the mags is easy. You just follow the arrow on the faceplate around. You rotate that. You can see the cassette turning. Once it kind of locks in there, you're going to take finger and put it over the exposed hole so that you can load that first pellet in there head first. And once that's in, you're good. It is locked in under that pellet spring tension, and you just load them up. Ooh. One at a time, head first. And you just pop the cover back into that closed fixed position, and you are good to go. Loads right into the breech. Pull that side lever back. You hear it snap in. Boom. Not bad. All right, friends, so stretching the Iconix to 45 yards. In our pre-testing, I will say, I've shot better groups than what you just saw, but it takes a lot of work. This 5-ish pound trigger, we'll find out in a minute, is quite heavy and not the most predictable thing in the world. So I would say that is the biggest hindrance to getting good accuracy. But $200 gun, sub 1 inch groups. This is 0.8 inches out of the JTS 18-1s. Not bad at all. Again, $200 PCP, 3/4 inch group, best we could do on camera here out of the JSB 18-1s. Also likes JSB 15-8-9s pretty well. That's really where it stopped though. So those 3 pellets are what I would be looking at if I were you guys. Seems fairly picky in between those 2 weights though. Anything heavier did not shoot well, and the lighter stuff did not shoot well. Slugs weren't even worth showing you. So that's where I would focus my attention. Again, for squirrels out to 50 yards, this thing has the goods for sure. But that trigger, in my opinion, biggest drawback to getting really, really good accuracy. This is solid. It could be better if the trigger was better. Taking our JSB 18-1-3s over the Chronograph here, we're getting 25 shots from 3,000 PSI down to 1,000 PSI. My issue with this, folks, is that represents an over 200 foot per second extreme spread. That is massive. So shot 1 coming in at 940 feet per second, but then by shot 25, you're down to 728. Now, while that corresponds perfectly with the green section of the gauge, that's way broader of an extreme spread than personally I would be accepting of. With that said though, the first 10, 15 shots, give or take, are actually pretty solid 40-50 foot per second extreme spread total and aren't going to influence your point of impact too much out to 50 yards or so. And really that's what this gun is there for. It's going to be a good kind of moderate range pesting PCP, especially for those of you starting out. Now, if we put the extreme spread aside, you're looking at a maximum foot-pounds of energy of 35.5 at the top end velocity. It averages out about 30 foot-pounds of energy overall, which is actually a pretty solid number, good number for small game for sure. Overall, the string, like I said, a really, really broad extreme spread, which I don't like to see, but definitely a good usable 10 to 15 shots out of this air cylinder. All right, friends, let's wrap up the Umarex Iconix here in the 22 caliber. Overall, I think the gun's a solid package. Remember, this is a sub $200 PCP, so when you're comparing it in that price range, this has a lot of value. No, the trigger is not amazing. Yes, it's kind of loud, but this is price point attainable, and it's also attainable for those of you that are going to be hand pumping, and I think that's important to remember here. It has a nice, smooth functioning side lever. It's lightweight. It's fairly easy to use in general. Comes with 2 mags. You got a lot of good stuff going here, and it shoots pretty darn well also. Not the highest shot count, but again, in a starter package, do I think this is worth the sub $200 price point? Absolutely. This is something you should have your eye on for the beginner in your life, or if you're looking to dive into PCPs without making a huge investment. This gun's a shooter and it will work for you, especially for small game pest elimination. But the noise factor and the trigger are the 2 big downers in my opinion, and may make it viable for some of you to justify the push up into something a little bit more expensive. But that's up to you guys, of course. So let us know down in the comments what you think of the Iconix, if you're interested in checking one out in the future. And don't forget, as always, to like and subscribe as well. We appreciate you watching. I'm Tyler Patner for the Pyramyd Insider. We'll see you next time.